I want to add a spin of AI, right? Everybody's like big into AI. What's keeping you up at night on
Mm.
this AI side? Because one is shadow IT around AI, right? People are using AI models to do their work, and but a lot of that data might be going out of their organization, or there might be other things. And AI is not just those big names, but there are so many AI apps and tools and productivity and all of that built in. And there are gaps in those, and there are security issues in many of those, especially when you give your control over to we heard of open claw in the early days, giving control on of that like people just find like, oh, this is so helpful that they don't, and they're not security professionals. How do you, as a security professional, or how does that person that we just talked about, who's signing off on the risk, but they don't know what the risk is, right? Because like AI is just like, it's
I
what keeps
think,
you up at night, and how do you address this?
yeah, I think if you look at, it's kind of two questions you asked there. So if I say what keeps me up at night, not a whole lot because I've been doing this for a while, but if I'm going to say something specific, right, just unmanaged risk in general. So I think that's the biggest problem with AI right now. It's anything that's hyped, right? I had an executive for an organization I work with. His son goes, "Hey, OpenClaw, it's the best. You got to do it." And so he calls up the IT manager, "Hey, you got to get this implemented." So now we have to figure that out, right? And so there's a lot to that and a lot to unpack. And so you got to break the risk down from an IT perspective. You just look at that from a tactical method and follow that piece by piece. How do I address each level of that? If you don't know, I mean, you got to phone a friend, because the potential issues for, hey, we've messed up. This bot now has access to all my bank accounts, and now we can't make payroll if we're in an SMB. That's a real problem that you could have, right? So probably you shouldn't put this on your main machine, right? You don't need a $50,000 Mac to put this on either. So consult your IT person. They're going to save you money. I know they seem hard to deal with sometimes, but they're just trying to protect you. So, but even from that, if we get it to larger organizations with who owns risk, you might have to define you know who's going to be in charge of AI in the organization, and that's the same. We go back 20 years ago, all this automation and all of these kind of different work groups. You have to create kind of an internal team of folks that have a stake at the table in the use of that, right? So the business units, the people implementing it, want to have a say because it's a lot of workload for them. When you get into resource planning, sure, you can unleash your sales or your ops team into Claude or whatever, and maybe they become 20% or will make up some number, right?
Yeah.
More productive. But if they're doing 20x more, and you haven't given the same tools to IT and security and others, their workload's increasing that much. And there's a good chance you were probably already underfunding it to begin with. So you got to look at resource planning. It's a real problem, not just for if you're in an industrial capacity, like planning workload. Like at Pandion, we had day workers that come in to help sort packages. Right, you have to plan that out, and that same kind of hurdles we ran into there is you add 80 people to a workforce in one facility. That's a lot of IT overhead that happens, right? So what does that look like? And then the security implications there, both physical and cyber. So I think you kind of have to walk through these scenarios. Like what happens if you dump 80 people into a building, right? Claude is maybe 100 people, right? So you have to look at that and decide, what is this doing to your workload? Uh, and can your business keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah,
But yeah,
makes sense.
going back, the other part of that was who owns that? I would say, most organizations aren't going to have a dedicated single person that's the chief AI officer, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have probably need to pull in the stakeholders, just like for risk ownership. You should have the CTO or whoever the senior IT person is, whoever's in charge of security, whoever's in charge of finance. They should all be in a working group and communicating to each other. If you just have one leading it, you're going to get a bad Venn diagram of possibilities, right?